So I'm sitting here relaxing, opening Magic the Gathering packs and crying because I never get anything good. Well, actually not true. I got this guy right now, so pretty happy about that. Just letting YouTube play and gosh, deep into the rabbit hole of like buying a house right now, housing market stuff. And I just can't help but feel anxious. So I did a little experience, a little behind the scenes stuff here for you guys so you can see. YouTube allows me to see what other videos my audience watches. That's right, YouTube farms your attention. So if you didn't know that, now you know. And I saw just what other videos my audience watches. Everyone leaving California. Wall Street exodus underway. This is what happens before a market crash. The exact date home prices will be the lowest. Get ready. Overpriced homes. Sellers are mad. Americans can't afford their skyrocketing payments. They think their home is worth $800K. What I told them, foreclosures are rising. Mortgage defaults. Never buy houses. That correction. And I actually clicked on one of these. I watched this guy. I want to give a shout out to this commenter here. For those looking for when the bottom should be, the answer is 1511. Thank you so much. You saved me 15 minutes of time. And I can't help but just feel like this tension and anxiety. I have a guy diagnosed with high blood pressure about 2 years ago. And even though I am 33 years old, it's unfortunately something I have to live with. So I've become very aware of when my blood pressure starts going up and tense. And gosh, guys, I feel you. I feel your pain. I feel the anxiety. And I think a lot of people who have already like own a home and they're not in that world, they're like, well, it's not my problem, right? I'm not going to look at it. But for everyone else who's like thinking about buying a home or wants to be a homeowner one day, I share that anxiety with you, even for a brief moment here. And so today, I want to just take a step back from the craziness of everything going on there and just talk to you about what I'm seeing in the housing market right now. Is it a little weird? Yeah, I think it is. But I think once you hear what's really going on, and I can share with you some data right now so we can kind of go over the scenario. If you were to buy a house today, like what happens after you buy it? Like are you losing all this value? We can go over all that together today so we can at least get a better idea of what's really going on in the housing market. So for starters, let's do this. I'm currently helping somebody buy, I know you guys are all over the place, so excuse my city speak here, but I'm a real estate agent in the Phoenix, Arizona area. I'm helping someone currently buy in a city called Goodyear, which is like a suburban neighborhood, middle to upper middle class, right, in the Phoenix, Arizona area. And let's just kind of go over what we did when we met virtually to kind of go over the market and share what's going on. And now keep in mind, this is just one market, but I think still this is a pretty good market to see what's happening because it's a very common first-time home buyer area. So here's their search. Under $450,000, city of Goodyear, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,800 square feet plus, 1 story. Okay. They have plenty of options, 31. And what I like to do before we start looking at houses and do the ooh la la, ooh, so nice. You know I'm talking about that. Everyone does that when they start looking. I like to just kind of give them a quick synopsis of what the heck is going on. So first thing I like to do when I look up an area is I look at what's the active houses for sale, what's under contract, and what's being sold over the last 30 days. Those three numbers give me a good ratio of how fricked up things are. So there's 31 houses for sale. There's approximately 20 houses that are pending, and only about 15 houses have sold. So it's basically the ratio is 30, 20, 15. Not too bad. It's about 2 months of inventory left. That means if there were normal new listings there and we continued the same rate of sell, it would approximately take 2 months. But I did tell them, honestly, it's probably being inflated a bit because of that square footage number. Anyways, let's go back to what they're looking at. So already I can tell you there's just more sellers than there are buyers. Next thing I like to do, and by the way, I hope you're taking notes. Talk to someone. I recommend you do this as well. You can look at the last closed data and just start analyzing what happened. So here in this category, we can see the original list price. Here we can see how many days on market it took to sell. Here we can see what it actually ended up selling for. And here we can see how much concessions was given to the buyer. So like closing costs in general. Off the bat, what I can see is there's a lot of list price being a lot higher than the actual sales price. Now, this is a little misleading on my part because the original list price doesn't indicate what the list price that it was before it actually sold. So what I'm going to do here is add list price so we can see what it actually ended up like getting reduced. So this one was originally listed for 430, but they eventually had to reduce the price to 375 before it actually sold for list price. So this one didn't actually sell below list. They just priced too high. Same scenario for this one. They listed 430, they reduced it to 387, and then it sold at price. Actually, hold on. I just swapped it. I bet I just made life easier for the editor. Thank you, Mr. Editor. Appreciate you, Lee. 449 to 439 to 402, right? So we start seeing that the ones that did sell under 439, 434, 429, 466, 447, 439. So every house has a situation, has a story, right? There's not a clear indication that everybody is completely out of their mind. I think when a house is listed appropriately, like this one, 370 is a really good price in this area. They listed at 378 and it took them 7 days to sell. Really solid. They priced cheaper. They got it sold right away. But when we get a seller that starts at 430, then they obviously don't have a lot of good time. The second thing I'm noticing is there's a lot of closing costs being given. So on average, you're going to pay about $8,000 to $10,000 of closing costs, and anything above that, you're basically using it to buy down the rate. I'm seeing a lot of new builds give $19,000, which, by the way, if you wonder why that's the case, check out this video here or check it out after we're done, where I literally tell you how freaking home builders are doing this, right? How they're giving buyers 4%. If you see this 19,000 number and you've watched that video, you know exactly why it's around 19,000. But anyways, you see other situations where they're 13,000. So off the bat, I can tell the majority of these are giving generous closing costs. So now that we've done that, we can look at the actual houses for sale and we can see, okay, why aren't these houses selling? Well, I can tell you just off the bat, there's just too many of them for sale. And there are too many sellers who are priced too high, which we'll get to that a little bit later. So obviously this is just one example out of, billions of different markets out there. I don't say billions, maybe millions, right? Every city has about approximately thousands of market, because literally your specific street or neighborhood it's its market on its own, right? So it's really hard just to say, look guys, here's one example, everything is fine. No, this is not the point of this. The point of what I'm trying to tell you is this issue that I'm seeing with this specific city is something that I'm seeing as a common issue right now. And that issue is there are too many sellers. But not just sellers, there are too many of the wrong type of sellers. Let me explain. So when you are looking at putting your house on the market, right, the first thing you do is you do a quick market research of your neighborhood. Let's say you have a house and it's beautiful. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath with 1,800 square feet and it has a pool. Well, you look at what's sold in your neighborhood and you find 2 other model match houses with the same square footage. One has a pool, one doesn't have a pool. Let's say the one with the pool sold for $420 and the one without the pool sold for $400,000. So off the bat, you think, well, my house is probably worth closer to $420, $425. Maybe you say $425 because, oh man, that granite countertop you put in your kitchen is just spectacular and it's worth another $5,000. So you put your house on the market for $425. Now, this is a common strategy that usually works in, not most markets, but in healthy markets right now. But let me just tell you off the bat, $425 is overpriced. But not only is $425 overpriced, $420 is overpriced. But not even that, $410 to $420 might be overpriced. That's right. The barrier of being overpriced nowadays is no longer just, oh, you're above where you should be listed. Being overpriced nowadays is being where you need to be and higher. We are in a market right now where buyers need to be incentivized. Let's just look at this in a very straightforward way. If I own a restaurant, let's say a seafood restaurant, I haven't been to a mariscos place in a long time. So let's say, I sell cocktails, ceviches, fish. Oh man, I'm really hungry now. So let's say I sell that, but I decided to put my shop near a town where everyone is a fisher, right? So everyone fishes their own fish, they shrimp. It's a commodity, right? Everyone just has it. So it's not a good business practice for me to put it right there. But let's say I decided to do that. Now, am I going to have a flow of people coming into my restaurant every day? Probably not, right? So I'm in a specific situation where I need to incentivize people to come and eat at my restaurant. How do I do that? kids eat free every day? Or maybe do I say, we're going to give you 30% off of our bill? Or, hey, if you come in on this day, you get a free beer. I don't know. You have to kind of incentivize people to get in there. Right now, home sellers are in a position where there's too many houses for sale, not a lot of buyers, because it kind of sucks to buy right now because of the rates. So they need to be doing a lot more to attract buyers. And of course, you can't just go out there and say, well, if you buy a house, we're going to give you a bunch of closing costs. That may work to some degrees with new builders, but at the end of the day, the one thing that you can do is the price that you put your house on the market. If you're not priced at least 5 to 10% under where you need to be priced, then you don't have a chance in this market. And guess what? The market that we're in today, sellers just don't get that. I just took some buyers out last weekend. It was pretty fun. We had a lot of options as usual because, now there's so many listings that they have different options to pick from. And we inquired on 2, right? And the thing that I've noticed with every house out there is the agents know what's up. The agents are like, we need to get this house sold. There's not enough buyers. Let's go. But what I got from those 2 agents are the seller doesn't want to reduce the price. They're pretty firm on their price. Dude, so you're just on the market to waste people's time. Like, why are you not able to work with me on the price? So, of course, it didn't work out with those 2, but we're out looking again. And I made a call ahead of time to a potential house that we're going to look at later tonight. And yeah, that one's a good situation where the seller is motivated and is willing to work with us, or at least the agent's claiming the seller is willing to work with us not only on the price, but a nice, healthy closing cost amount. One thing I need you guys to remember when you're thinking about the housing market, there is a large, massive group of people that are ready to strike as soon as there's a little bit of leniency, meaning prices drop, interest rates drop, people are going to strike hard. Let me show you something that happened 2022. This is the average sales price in my city. We had a huge spike of value, May 2022, spike down, right? And for all intents and purposes, the market was crashing here. And what's crazy is it started dropping crazy because the rate went from 3% to 5%. People started freaking out. Well, we've been at 7 for the last freaking 3 years. And guess what? We've been here, right? So we started dropping very sharply here. And I remember from October to December, you could not even turn on the TV without freaking having some news person telling you that prices are dropping and that the market is crashing. Or you couldn't even turn on YouTube, and if you even typed real estate or you even whispered to Google real estate, you would just get flooded with the market is crashing, blah, 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 blah. This is it. Well, people started seeing as they were looking on Zillow and whatnot is those prices were dropping and that monthly payment was now obtainable for where they wanted to be. So what happened? I remember because January and February, we're like, yep, the market's crashing. This is it. But then I started getting a lot of phone calls. Everybody started reaching out to me. This is one of my biggest months I've ever had was the beginning of 2023 because I got flooded with people wanting to buy houses. And guess what happened? Everybody else did too. And what happened is any kind of progress going down stopped. Now we've been at a steady increase since then. Now, if you kind of look at the general flow of it, it looks more like it's going up and kind of cooling down here because we're going lower here, but only time will tell, right? If I were to show you the chart up to here, then it would look like it's crashing. If I would have showed you the chart up to here, it looked like we're going back up. It's hard to tell, right? You can't really tell the future. But the point is, there's always a huge group of people that are waiting to strike when things become affordable or a little bit more affordable. So let's say this does start dropping again, and we do get to the point where the average sales price at this point was $469. Guess what's going to happen again? Do you really think people are going to let the market crash again? And if you think well, this guy's a freaking real estate genius, he knows what he's talking about. Guess what? I just made a video. Go check it out later. I got 2 videos for you to watch. Okay, here's what I need you to do. If you actually go watch one of those 2 videos, I need you to leave a comment below and say, watch both videos, Javier, with the little emoji. So I know who the true soldiers of this channel are. I just made a video talking about my home ownership journey, different pros and cons of owning a home and mistakes I've made. And one of the things I shared with you is that I bought my house, the current house I live in, here. I sold and I bought around this time. So I made a lot of money, but I also bought here. And I lost a lot of, you see the missing hair here? That happened over lost sleep, just thinking about, oh my gosh, checking my house value, seeing it go down, seeing it go up, right? Guess what? I live in a home where my kids, my family, and I are going to make great, wonderful memories. We can grow into it. And on top of that, we can afford our home. What's the market doing right now? Yeah, there's a lot of freaking sellers and they're holding on a little higher. But the sellers that list accurately below list are actually selling. And we're probably going to be seeing a dip of prices for sure. We have a long way to go because if you go back even further, 2018, 2019, when things were somewhat healthy, we have to drop. Not only do we have to pop the COVID bubble thing here, which started around here, right? So we have to drop all the way, what is that? 160,000, right? And it has to drop $160,000 and it has to not be stopped by anybody. That means when people get to this point again, where last time people went crazy, people need to hold out. Or when it goes down to the 300 range, people need to hold out. Right? It's going to take many months of thousands of people that have been waiting to buy need to be patient and not buy when things get that low. And it has to keep dropping to get to that point. But not only that, but it has to also drop any progress it made in the last 10 years, which is all this as well. So there has to be a lot of ifs, ands, or buts. Buying a house is scary. When I was helping people buy in 2014, when prices were super cheap, they were still terrified. It's always going to be scary to buy. It's always going to be feeling at the wrong time. So buy when you're ready, buy when your budget's right, buy when you have enough savings, do what you got to do to prepare. And please understand it's a terrible investment. Tell yourself now, buying a house, say it with me, buying a house is a bad investment. You're not going to be making a ton of money. You're not. You're buying a home because there's something deeper in you, a why that's making you want to own your home instead of have your own landlord. And that's that. So that's what's going on with the real estate market. If you want to watch those two videos I mentioned, I'm going to put them in the description or in the comments, the top pinned comment. Actually, I like to leave the pinned comment for a funny comment, so I'll leave them in the description for you to watch. I might have one pop up right now. Ooh, 4%. How do they get 4%? Who knows? Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Stay frosty.